Hey everyone! If you enjoyed this video, the full version is available on Patreon. I'll be uploading all my content there going forward.
Chapter 1. In a dense forest, Boruto Uzumaki felt a sudden wave of dizziness. He clutched his head tightly and slowly struggled to his feet. Boruto looked around and saw towering trees, sunlight filtering through the dense canopy and dappling the ground, creating a scene of interplay of light and shadow. He was filled with doubt. He was perfectly fine at home, so how did he suddenly end up in this unfamiliar forest? The time frame is set for the evening of the day Momoshiki was played. A sense of unease flashed through Boruto's mind. He began to suspect that Momoshiki Otsutsuki was behind all of this. The thought struck him like a bolt of lightning, sending a chill down his spine. He looked down at his right hand, the bandaged arm seemingly telling a silent ominous premonition. Boruto clenched his fist, the muscles beneath the bandage trembling slightly. He recalled the scene of his battle with Momoshiki Otsutsuki. The fierce duel seemed to be right before his eyes. Before being defeated, Momoshiki stared at him with a mysterious look and said something profound. Those words echoed in Boruto's mind like a gentle breeze. Remember. Those blue eyes will one day take everything away from you. And, be prepared. Those who have defeated God can never return to being mortals. Boruto Uzumaki looked down at the wedge-shaped mark on his right hand, a mysterious symbol that had appeared on his hand ever since he defeated Momoshiki. He was unsure of the mark's true purpose, it seemed to contain some kind of power or curse. Boruto sighed softly, feeling a deep sense of powerlessness. Without more information, he could only take things one step at a time. Boruto Uzumaki decides that his first priority is to figure out his current situation so that he can better plan his next move before reuniting with his father. Boruto emerged from the woods with a heavy heart, his thoughts still lingering between the mysterious wedge-shaped mark and the unknown environment. Suddenly, an unexpected collision interrupted his thoughts. He was hit squarely by a hurried figure, lost his balance, and was knocked to the ground. Ouch! Boruto Uzumaki fell to the ground, feeling a sharp pain, and couldn't help but cry out in pain. At the same time, the figure that bumped into him also felt pain from the impact and let out a painful cry. Seriously? Don't you even watch where you're going? Naruto Uzumaki rubbed the spot where he was bumped and looked up to complain first. Before them stood Naruto Uzumaki and Tajuna's group, who were on a C-rank mission. Boruto Uzumaki stared wide-eyed, almost unable to believe his eyes when his gaze focused on the person in front of him. Although Naruto's appearance is very different from before, Boruto recognized him at a glance. The person in front of him was his father. He almost unconsciously uttered the word Dad. His voice trembled slightly, revealing disbelief. Boruto was still reeling from his father's appearance, his shock still fresh, when suddenly he felt a chill on his neck. A sharp kunai was already pressed against his side, and this unexpected threat instantly brought him to his senses. Kakashi's gaze was sharp as a knife. He narrowed his eyes, his voice carrying a chilling coldness, and questioned Boruto Uzumaki, a rogue ninja of Konoha. As soon as Kakashi finished speaking, the kunai in his hand pressed tightly against Boruto's skin, and with each word, the tip of the kunai seemed to press even harder against Boruto's carotid artery. In the tense atmosphere, Boruto's skin was cut by a sharp kunai, and a drop of bright red blood slowly seeped out, sliding down the blade, looking particularly glaring. Boruto Uzumaki gasped in shock at the sudden pain in his neck, cold sweat trickling down his face. When Kakashi's words rang out, the phrase Konoha Rogue Ninja struck Boruto like a bolt from the blue, making his heart leap and his soul almost fly out of his body. When Sasuke and Sakura heard the words Konoha Rogue Ninja, their reaction was swift and decisive. Sasuke's eyes flashed with a sharp light, and he immediately assumed a fighting stance, while Sakura followed closely behind. The two of them tacitly protected Tajuna in the middle, ensuring the safety of their client. They were well aware of the importance of protecting their clients, especially since they had only just left Konoha and were already injured. What would Konoha think of that? Moreover, the enemy is a rogue ninja from Konoha. If this gets out, it will not only severely damage the reputation of Konoha, but also become a laughingstock for other ninja villages. The reputation and credibility of Konoha village have been built up over a long period of time, and any negative event could have a significant impact on the village's status and the number of commissions it receives. Once the news spreads, other ninja villages may question the abilities of Konoha ninjas, leading to a sharp drop in the number of requests. At this moment, Kakashi tightened his grip, and Boruto realized that he had to explain himself immediately, otherwise the situation might become more dangerous. Boruto Uzumaki hurriedly shouted, trying to stop the situation from escalating further, "Wait a minute. It's not what you think. I have something to say, I can explain." Boruto Uzumaki couldn't understand why he would encounter his father and Aunt Sakura from his childhood here. He began to suspect that this was an illusion created by Momoshiki Otsutsuki before his death, a deceptive illusion, but the urgency of reality did not allow him to continue thinking about it. Kakashi brought the kunai closer to Boruto's neck and interrogated him, "Now, tell me, who are you? Why are you wearing a Konoha rogue ninja headband?" Kakashi stared intently at Boruto Uzumaki, a sense of unease rising within him. Although the boy before him wore a rogue ninja headband, he appeared quite young, which made him feel that something was amiss. How come I never knew that such a young rogue ninja had emerged from the village? Boruto's mind was racing. He knew nothing about the world, and any rash action could have unpredictable consequences. Therefore, he decided to hide his true identity as much as possible to avoid causing unnecessary trouble. The stinging pain from the kunai on his neck stimulated Boruto's nerves, and a thought flashed through his mind like a flash of inspiration. Without the slightest hesitation, Boruto immediately responded loudly, "Boruto Namikaze." When the name Boruto Namikaze came out of Boruto Uzumaki's mouth, he immediately realized his mistake. The name not only failed to conceal his identity, but it might have put him in an even more dangerous situation. As a disciple of his grandfather Minato Namikaze, how could Kakashi not know the name Namikaze? Boruto was filled with tension and fear. He could feel the cold touch of the kunai on his neck, and the sharp blade seemed like it would slice through his skin and end his life at any moment. Boruto Uzumaki never expected that the name Boruto Namikaze that he blurted out would unexpectedly become his lifeline. When Kakashi heard the name Namikaze, his pupils contracted slightly, but his face was covered by a mask, so his expression could not be seen. Kakashi's gaze lingered on Boruto Uzumaki for a moment. He noticed that the blonde-haired boy did indeed bear some resemblance to Naruto Uzumaki. Could it be? Kakashi gently shook his head, trying to dispel the seemingly absurd thoughts in his mind. He felt that he might be being too sensitive, mistaking some coincidences for some kind of connection. Nevertheless, he withdrew the kunai from his hand, but his eyes remained wary. That. Namikaze Boruto was about to speak, wanting to explain his identity again, but when he felt the kunai on his neck being removed and the cold sensation disappear, he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Boruto Namikaze took a deep breath and continued weaving his story to make his lie sound more believable. He explained, "This headband is actually a trophy my father obtained after defeating a Konoha rogue ninja during a mission. He left it to me as a memento. I wear it on my forehead simply out of respect and remembrance for my father, and there's no other meaning behind it." He portrayed himself as a homeless child, a child who longed to become a Konoha ninja stronger than his father. After hearing Boruto's explanation, Kakashi nodded thoughtfully, then said in a relaxed tone, "I see. It seems we did misunderstand you." Sakura Haruno frowned slightly, puzzled by Kakashi-sensei's gullibility. She said with a questioning tone, "Hey Kakashi-sensei, you're too trusting. That kid just played the victim a little, and you believed him so easily." Sasuke stood to the side, and although he did not speak, his silence revealed a cold suspicion. Kakashi smiled and, with his characteristic languid demeanor, reached out and gently patted Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha's heads. His smile carried a hint of ease and confidence. Well, don't worry, my intuition tells me that this child has a kind heart. Sakura Haruno didn't buy Kakashi's explanation. She stuck to her suspicions and continued, but he just called Naruto dad, which is clearly suspicious. And I remember the fourth Hokage's name was. At this point, Sakura abruptly stopped speaking, quickly covering her mouth with her hand and refusing to continue. Naruto was puzzled when Sakura stopped halfway through her sentence. He was always straightforward and disliked beating around the bush. He thought that riddles were really boring and that it would be better to just say it frankly. Kakashi said to Boruto Namikaze, "So, Boruto, didn't you want to surpass your father? Now, do you want to join us on a mission?" Kakashi seemed to be asking Boruto a question, but his tone left no room for argument. "Is this all right?" "Of course I'd like to." Boruto Namikaze was more than happy to agree and readily agreed to Kakashi's request. Kakashi originally planned to take Boruto Namikaze back to Konoha and deal with his situation according to regulations. However, he changed his mind and realized that they were currently on a C-rank mission, which was not complicated. Kakashi weighed the options and decided it would be more appropriate to deal with Boruto's matter after completing the mission, since a little brat couldn't possibly cause any trouble. Tazner was clearly unhappy about the upcoming addition of a new member to the team. He angrily expressed his opinion, "Look, we already have a bunch of brats in our team, and now we're adding another one? What is this? I pay you guys to protect me, not to play house." Kakashi reassured Tazna, saying softly, "Don't worry, Mr. Tazna. This is just a C-rank mission. Protecting you all is a piece of cake for me. We'll ensure your safety, there won't be any problems." A hint of unease flashed in Tajuna's eyes. He remained skeptical of Kakashi's assurance. However, he didn't say anything more. He just picked up the wine jug, took a big gulp, put the jug back on his waist, and continued walking forward without looking back. Kakashi watched Tajuna's retreating figure and smiled helplessly. He understood Tajuna's dissatisfaction. After all, the safety and success of the mission were the most important things. Following in Tazner's footsteps, they continued their journey. As they continued on their way, suddenly, two dark figures darted through the treetops. The two figures moved swiftly among the shadows and landed on a tree not far away, their eyes filled with malice as they locked onto the group. Chapter 2. Boruto walked at the back of the group, his gaze frequently falling on Sakura Haruno and Naruto Uzumaki at the front. He observed their every move, a complex emotion welling up inside him. Boruto unconsciously pursed his lips, inwardly teasing, "Tch, it's one thing for Dad to be shorter than Sasuke-sensei, but I never expected him to be even shorter than Aunt Sakura. That's really lame. If it were me, I'd want to find a crack in the ground to crawl into." On the way to their destination, Kakashi took the opportunity to share some knowledge about ninja villages with everyone. He explained in detail the historical background, cultural characteristics, and status and role of each village in the ninja world. Kakashi also emphasized the cooperative and competitive relationship among ninjas, as well as the rules and ethical standards that ninjas must follow when carrying out missions. After Kakashi finished explaining the relevant knowledge about the ninja village to everyone, he turned around, patted Sakura's head, and said, "Don't worry, Sakura, C-rank missions are usually simple missions. There won't be any duels between ninjas, and you won't be put in any danger." Sakura Haruno smiled after hearing Kakashi's explanation and replied easily, "Oh, that's good. That way we don't have to worry about encountering foreign ninjas." "Of course," Kakashi replied. He muttered to himself, "What nonsense. Everyone says the ninja world used to be so cruel and dangerous, but in the end it's just like modern times, where people are sent away and cats and dogs are found. Adults just love exaggerated literature." Boruto's mindset gradually changed. The C-rank mission that his father and the others were experiencing now seemed not much different from the missions he had completed before. After hearing Kakashi and Sakura's conversation behind him, Tajuna didn't say anything. He just silently lowered the brim of his hat to hide his expression, and a faint trace of cold sweat could be seen on his cheeks. Dazner knew that the road ahead was fraught with danger, and only he himself knew the extent of those dangers. Boruto noticed Mr. Tajuna's unusual behavior. He put his hands behind his head and asked casually, "Mr. Tajuna, are you a little nervous? You're sweating." "Don't worry, even if something happens, Kakashi, senpai can handle it easily." Boruto realized he almost let something slip, so he quickly corrected himself and changed his address. Boruto has great faith in Kakashi's abilities. After all, he is the 6th Hokage and enjoys a very high reputation in the ninja world. Although Kakashi doesn't appear to be Hokage yet, Boruto believes that with Kakashi's abilities and experience, he is fully capable of handling any unexpected situation. Boruto has just arrived here, and it's unclear which Hokage era he's in yet. Boruto gently tugged at Naruto Uzumaki beside him and asked in a low voice, "Naruto? Naruto, which generation of Hokage is the current Hokage of Konoha?" There was a hint of embarrassment in his voice. After all, it was still a little unnatural for him to call his father by his name. The hope is to learn about the current Hokage and the situation of this era by asking Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki said to Boruto with a hint of mockery, "Hey, you don't even know this? The current Hokage is the 3rd Hokage." His expression carried a touch of ridicule for Boruto's ignorance. Boruto was somewhat surprised upon hearing Naruto's answer. Was he only the 3rd Hokage now? That was quite a long time ago. Boruto and his group continued their journey, steadily advancing towards the Land of Waves along their planned route. Despite some minor incidents earlier, the atmosphere within the group had returned to calm. On their way to the Land of Waves, the group passed a puddle that caught Kakashi Hotaki's attention, though he only glanced at it briefly. In that rain-soaked puddle, a head suddenly burst out of the water, splashing water droplets everywhere, as if a ghost in the water had suddenly appeared. At the same time, in the nearby woods, a lithe figure flashed out like an arrow, creating an eerie echo with the figure in the puddle. The two seemed to have planned this all along, rushing towards Kakashi's location with tacit understanding. Their movements were swift and precise, clearly indicating that they were about to launch a surprise and fatal attack. These two are the Ghost Brothers, the traitorous ninjas of Kirigakure. For money, they would kill any target without regard for morality or ethics. The first one. In that brief moment, Kakashi was tightly bound by that cold, merciless iron chain, and with a shrill metallic scraping sound, his body was mercilessly crushed. His flesh and blood were shattered into tiny fragments by the immense force, scattered like withered petals on the blood-stained land. Boruto was slightly taken aback by the sudden scene he witnessed. "Kakashi-sensei!" Naruto cried out in panic, his voice filled with disbelief and fear. Immediately afterwards, the pair of ghost brothers appeared behind Boruto with astonishing speed. Their movements were swift and silent, as stealthy as ghosts. Their eyes revealed coldness and ruthlessness, and the corners of their mouths were slightly upturned as they uttered 3 words in a very deep voice, as if they came from the depths of hell, making the surrounding air seem to freeze. The second one. Just as the demon brothers were about to launch a fatal attack on Boruto, and the situation was extremely critical, Boruto had already recovered from his brief moment of shock. Boruto immediately crouched down to avoid the demon brothers' chain attack, took out a kunai from his ninja tool bag, turned around, and decisively slashed a wound on the opponent's chest before kicking him away. The demon brothers were surprised by Boruto's counterattack. Using the force of Boruto's kick, the demon head immediately adjusted his position and rushed towards Naruto, intending to take him down first. Seeing this, Sasuke did not hesitate at all. He leaped up, quickly drew a shuriken from his waist, and with a flick of his wrist, the shuriken sliced through the air and accurately struck the Oni brothers' weapon, making a crisp metallic clang. This attack not only stopped the demon brothers' attack but also bought Naruto valuable reaction time. After Sasuke neutralized their attack, the demon brothers frowned. How come these kids react so quickly lately? They immediately adjusted their strategy, shifting their focus to the defenseless Tajuna. They moved swiftly like ghosts, attempting to attack Tajuna before he could strike again. However, Boruto had already lunged directly at the demon brothers, leaping forward and pinning the demon head beneath him, successfully stopping them. Sakura then saw another enemy approaching the target she was protecting, and without hesitation, she stepped forward, crossed her arms in front of her chest, and used her body as a shield to bravely stand in front of Tajuna. Sasuke didn't sit idly by when Sakura stepped forward. He moved like lightning and reappeared in front of Sakura, spreading his arms and using his body as a barrier to protect Sakura and Tajuna behind him. Just as the demon brothers' attack was about to hit Sasuke, Kakashi suddenly appeared, his hands swiftly reaching out and accurately grabbing the demon brothers' necks, rescuing Sasuke, Sakura, and Tajuna from danger and instantly reversing the situation. Tears welled up in Sakura's eyes as she exclaimed in surprise, "Kakashi-sensei! You're still alive!" Naruto turned to look at the spot where Kakashi had fallen, but found no bloodstains as expected, only a pile of broken wood fragments scattered on the ground. He then realized that Kakashi-sensei had used the substitution jutsu to cleverly dodge the demon brothers' fatal attack. Kakashi's gaze swept lightly over Naruto and Boruto before settling on Naruto. He said, "I'm sorry, Naruto, I hurt you. But I didn't expect you to be so still." Kakashi turned his gaze to Sasuke and Sakura, nodding in approval of their performance. "Sasuke, your reaction speed and combat skills are as excellent as ever. Sakura, your courage and actions in protecting your comrades are also commendable." Kakashi was somewhat surprised by Boruto's performance. He hadn't expected Boruto to adapt to the rhythm of battle so quickly, and he couldn't help but pay more attention to Boruto. The two enemies who launched the surprise attack were clearly Chunin level, but Boruto displayed surprising combat abilities, managing to suppress one of them. After the battle, Boruto carefully wiped the blood off the kunai in his hand and put it back into his ninja tool pouch. Naruto also fell into deep thought. He hadn't made any significant contribution in this battle, even though it was their first time fighting. Sasuke and Sakura, on the other hand, performed so well and even stepped forward to protect him at a crucial moment. Sasuke noticed Naruto's gaze, turned his head, and said to Naruto in a teasing tone with a slight upturn of his lips, "Yo! You're not hurt, are you? Coward!" His eyes were full of mockery. Hearing Sasuke's teasing, Naruto couldn't help but shout, "Sasuke!" Kakashi stopped Naruto from fighting Sasuke and pointed out that the demon brothers' fingernails contained a deadly poison that, once inside the body, would spread throughout the entire body and cause serious damage. He was advised to immediately use a sharp knife to gently cut open the wound to release the toxins from the bloodstream. After telling Naruto about the situation, Kakashi slowly walked to the side and found Tajuna, preparing to have an in-depth conversation with him. Under pressure from Kakashi, Tajuna was forced to reveal the whole story without reservation, his words pouring out one after another like beans. When Sakura learned that the mission's level would be at least B, she felt a sense of retreat. She thought that the difficulty and risks of the mission might be too severe for their current abilities. Sakura's voice betrayed a hint of hesitation as she voiced her concerns to Kakashi. "This mission seems too early for us. Should we consider cancelling it? Furthermore, to open Naruto's wound and release the poisonous blood, we need appropriate anesthesia to alleviate Naruto's pain. We need to go back to the village to see a doctor." Kakashi temporarily looked away from the conversation and turned to look at Naruto, noticing that Naruto was carefully examining his wounds. He wanted to leave the decision of whether or not to return to the village to Naruto. Feeling Kakashi's gaze directed at him, Naruto gritted his teeth, a fierce look appearing on his face. Without the slightest hesitation, he swiftly pulled a kunai from his waist and plunged it into the back of his injured hand. This scene shocked everyone present. They had never expected Naruto to be so resolute towards himself. As Naruto felt his wound bleeding profusely, a series of questions welled up in his mind. Why are they so different? Why am I always the one who holds everyone back? Hateful. Sakura was startled when Naruto suddenly attacked her. She quickly took a step forward and said urgently, "Naruto! What are you doing?" "That's right. Wouldn't it be safer to get treatment back in the village? Why go through all this trouble?" Boruto also advised. Naruto ignored Sakura and Boruto's advice and continued to mutter to himself, "I should be stronger than before. Continuously complete missions and undergo ninjutsu training alone every day. I no longer want to wait for someone to save me. I will not be frustrated, nor will I run away. I do not want to lose to Sasuke. I swear by the pain in my left hand, the mission continues." With the movement of Naruto's left hand, drops of bright red blood dripped from the wound and fell to the ground, forming a small crimson stain. Kakashi lazily reminded him, "Naruto, it's good to release the poisonous blood at the right time, but if you continue like this, you might bleed to death." Naruto's cool demeanor lasted only 3 seconds. Upon hearing Kakashi's reminder, his previously determined expression instantly crumbled, replaced by panic. Naruto reverted to his usual goofy self, shouting, "Ah! How could I die over something so trivial?" Kakashi approached Naruto and gestured for him to show his wound so he could examine it. However, when Kakashi carefully examined Naruto's wound, he was surprised to find that the edges of the wound had begun to show signs of healing. The wounds that should have needed treatment are now seemingly healing on their own at an extraordinary speed. As Kakashi carefully bandaged Naruto's wounds, a thought couldn't help but cross his mind, is this really the power of the nine-tailed fox at work? Boruto was deeply shocked by Naruto's words and was quite shocked. He never expected that his father had this side to him when he was a child. Chapter 3. Boruto and his friends were sitting in a small wooden boat, moving slowly forward with the gentle ripples on the lake. The surrounding mist, like a thin veil, gradually spread out, enveloping the surrounding scenery in a hazy mist. As the boat slowly moved forward on the lake, Boruto and his companions noticed an unfinished bridge ahead, its framework faintly visible in the mist. Under Kakashi's questioning, Tajuna finally decided to stop hiding the truth. He took a deep breath, and with a relieved expression, began to recount the whole story in detail. His life had long been threatened by the shipping tycoon, Kato. The land of waves, an economically backward and resource-scarce country, lacked even sufficient wealth for its lords to support its development. Its people lived in poverty and lacked basic infrastructure. Tasner's financial situation was naturally very difficult. He had almost no savings to build the bridge, and he felt powerless to pay the high reward of the B-level mission. Then he had to resort to an extreme method, using his granddaughter and daughter to morally blackmail Kakashi and the others. Boruto seemed somewhat agitated. "This is not a reason for you to use this excuse to cover up the truth. Intelligence is of paramount importance to ninjas. You must understand that the accuracy and timeliness of intelligence are directly related to the safety of ninjas' lives. How many ninjas have paid the price with their lives while on missions because of a lack of or incorrect intelligence? They spared no effort, even sacrificing themselves, to obtain intelligence." Seeing that Boruto wasn't buying it, he could only apologize, saying, "I'm really sorry about this, but it was the only way I could do it." Kakashi was slightly taken aback when he heard Boruto's words. He turned to look at Boruto with a hint of surprise in his eyes. He then tried to smooth things over, saying, "Well, since we've already accepted the commission, let's continue carrying it out." Tajuna breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing Kakashi's decision, as if the burden in his heart had been lightened considerably, and a relieved smile appeared on his tense face. "Humph!" Boruto snorted. Although he was still somewhat dissatisfied with the previous concealment, since Kakashi and Tajuna had reached a consensus, he couldn't raise any further objections. When Kakashi and his group finally reached the shore, they discovered a figure standing quietly on the branch of a large tree in the misty forest, seemingly blending into the surrounding environment. Kakashi frowned slightly. He recognized the figure Zabuza Momoshiki, a rogue ninja from Kirigakure. Zabuza, the ninja once known as the demon in Kirigakure, was not unfamiliar to Kakashi. Zabuza's assassination skills and water-style ninjutsu are renowned in Kirigakure. His appearance is no accident and undoubtedly adds a degree of uncertainty to this mission. Zabuza Momoshiki's gaze was extremely sharp. He looked down at Kakashi below from the tree, a cold smile curling at the corner of his mouth beneath his bandages. He said in a highly provocative tone, "Oh, so you're Kakashi, the genius ninja in Konoha known as the Copy Ninja, who possesses the Sharingan." Upon hearing Zabuza Momoshiki's words, Sasuke involuntarily turned his gaze to Kakashi. Not only Sasuke was puzzled, but Naruto, Sakura, and Boruto were also somewhat confused. Naruto scratched his head, looking somewhat confused. He wasn't familiar with the term Sharingan, but he could sense that it was a very special ability. Boruto turned to look at Kakashi with a puzzled expression, his eyes filled with questions. He had never heard of Kakashi having the nickname Kakashi of the Sharingan. Moreover, in his memory, Uncle Kakashi had never demonstrated the Sharingan's abilities, so he thought that the old man in front of him might have really mistaken him for someone else. After assigning the tasks, a hint of seriousness flashed across Kakashi's calm face. He gently raised his hand and slowly removed the headband covering his left eye, revealing the legendary three-tomo Sharingan. When Boruto saw Kakashi's Sharingan, he was immediately invigorated and felt a surge of inexplicable excitement. It really was the Sharingan, almost identical to the eyes of Sarada and Sasuke's master. Boruto does remember that Uncle Kakashi was not a member of the Uchiha clan, but why did Uncle Kakashi have the Sharingan, and why did he stop using it later? Faced with Naruto's continued curiosity and questioning, Sasuke explained the secrets of the Sharingan to him. The Sharingan is a special bloodline limit that can only be awakened by members of the Uchiha clan. This eye possesses special abilities such as copying ninjutsu, strong perception, and genjutsu. As Sasuke explained, their surroundings changed. Their once clear vision began to blur, and mist gradually rose from the lake and slowly spread out. Sasuke's gaze was fixed on Kakashi's Sharingan, his brows furrowed. The Sharingan was the symbol of the Uchiha clan. Kakashi isn't a member of the Uchiha clan, so how does he possess the Sharingan? Could he have some unknown connection to the Uchiha clan? Enough with the small talk, I need to get rid of that old man quickly. As soon as Zabuza Momoshiki finished speaking, Boruto, Sasuke, Naruto, and Sakura immediately took action. They quickly moved from 4 different directions, tightly protecting Tashuna in the middle, forming a solid barrier. Zabuza's lips curled into a cold smile. His sharp eyes swept over the 4 young men before him, a hint of disdain flashing in them. "Humph, you brats, do you think you can stop me like this? Ninja art, hidden mist technique." Zabuza Momoshiki swiftly unleashed his ninjutsu. As he formed hand seals, a thick mist rapidly rose from the ground, completely enveloping his figure. Seeing this, Naruto quickly formed hand seals and used his shadow clone technique, which he was skilled at, to create multiple clones that scattered in the mist in order to find Zabuza's whereabouts. Kakashi suddenly exuded a chilling killing intent, which, like an invisible force, dispersed the surrounding mist, revealing a sliver of clear space. Boruto and the others had never seen Kakashi display such intense killing intent before, and this sudden change made them uneasy. The killing intent was so intense that Boruto and the others felt an unprecedented sense of powerlessness, as if their will and strength were insignificant in the face of Kakashi's killing intent. Under the shadow of that murderous aura, they even had the terrifying thought of giving up resistance and contemplating suicide. Kakashi noticed Boruto and his companions' unease and comforted them gently, saying, "Don't worry, everyone. I will do everything in my power to protect you. No matter what happens, I will not let my companions get hurt." "Is that really so?" In an instant, Zabuza Momoshiki appeared in front of Boruto with unbelievable speed, announcing the end of the battle. It's over. Wind release, Gale Palm. Boruto didn't hesitate at all. He quickly mobilized the chakra in his body and unleashed the wind release ninjutsu. As Boruto moved, a powerful gust of wind erupted from his palm, forming a strong airflow that rushed straight towards Zabuza. Boruto's Gale Palm struck Zabuza Namikaze squarely, but unfortunately, the Zabuza he was facing was merely a water clone. As Boruto attacked, Zabuza's true form silently appeared behind Kakashi. Zabuza wore a sly smile, his hand gripping the sharp blade tightly. Taking advantage of Boruto's attack, he swiftly swung a fatal blow at Kakashi's waist. Die! Kakashi reacted just as quickly. He seemed to have anticipated Zabuza's actions. When Zabuza's blade severed his body, Kakashi's figure suddenly blurred and then turned into a puddle of water, scattering on the ground. Kakashi appeared silently behind Zabuza like a ghost, and before Zabuza realized the danger, Kakashi had already pressed a kunai against his neck. Don't move! The sharp blade pressed against Zabuza's skin, emanating a chill. Kakashi repeated Zabuza's words, "It's over." Zabuza felt Kakashi's kunai pressed against his neck, but he didn't panic. Instead, he calmly analyzed the situation. He recognized Kakashi's water clone technique, which was his own ninjutsu that Kakashi had copied and cleverly used in the battle. Zabuza's tone carried a hint of admiration. Water clone technique, hey? As expected of a copy ninja, you can even copy my ninjutsu under this dense fog. But this kind of trick can't defeat me. Zabuza reacted just as quickly, using his water clone technique once again to transform into a water clone and cleverly escape from Kakashi's kunai. He gave Kakashi no time to react, immediately forcing Kakashi back onto the lake surface and swiftly casting the water prison technique using his water manipulation abilities. The water on the lake surface quickly condensed, forming a solid water prison that trapped Kakashi inside. While Kakashi was trapped by the water prison technique, he noticed that Zabuza had created a water clone to attack Tajuna. Ignoring his own predicament, Kakashi shouted to Boruto, Sasuke, Naruto, and Sakura, "You guys, get Tajuna out of here right now." When Boruto saw that Kakashi-senpai was trapped by the water prison technique, he stepped forward without hesitation and said firmly, "It's not over yet. Kakashi-senpai, I'm here to save you." Kakashi saw Boruto about to rush forward and immediately shouted to stop him, "Idiot, don't be impulsive. This is not the time to play the hero. You must protect Tajuna and get him out of here. I can handle Zabuza's attack, so don't worry about me." Boruto ignored Kakashi's words, quickly forming hand seals. As chakra flowed, 4 clones suddenly appeared beside him. Kakashi looked at the clone beside Boruto with a serious expression. Was it a water clone technique? Or some other clone technique? It seemed to be the shadow clone technique. "Alright, get ready to go." Boruto gave the order, and his 4 clones immediately responded, wielding kunai and launching a swift attack on Zabuza's water clones. Although Boruto's clones were brave, Zabuza's water clones were not to be underestimated. In the brief exchange, 2 of Boruto's 4 clones were quickly destroyed by Zabuza's water clones, turning into smoke and dissipating into the air. Nevertheless, Boruto continued to command his remaining clones to fight against Zabuza's water clones. Meanwhile, Sasuke and Sakura also joined the battle. They each used their own ninjutsu to attack Zabuza's water clones from different angles. When Naruto faced Zabuza, a powerful jonin, a thought of retreat involuntarily welled up in his mind. He began to struggle internally, and fear and unease spread through his heart. However, when he inadvertently glanced at the wound on the back of his hand, a series of memories flashed through his mind like a revolving lantern. When he remembered his blood oath, his fear immediately vanished. "I am Naruto Uzumaki from Konoha. The man who will become Hokage. Only by defeating the water clones in front of them can they buy precious time to escape, or create an opportunity to rescue Kakashi." Boruto's gaze was fixed on Zabuza's water clone, noticing that Zabuza's water clone was being restrained by Sasuke and the others. Now is the best time for them to rescue Uncle Kakashi. He must seize this opportunity to break Zabuza's water prison technique and free Uncle Kakashi from his predicament. Zabuza Namikaze's gaze swept across the shore and he spotted Boruto Namikaze staring at him menacingly. A mocking smile curled at the corner of his lips, and he said in a contemptuous tone, "How ironic that a rogue ninja who betrayed Konoha would so willingly help his former comrades." Zabuza misunderstood Boruto from the start of the battle. When he saw Boruto wearing a headband that represented a rogue ninja, he naturally assumed that Boruto was a Konoha rogue ninja who had been held hostage by Kakashi. In Zabuza's eyes, Boruto seemed to have been forced into this battle, and since he himself was probably unwilling, he planned to provoke him. Controlling Kakashi would be the best opportunity for him to escape or even kill Kakashi, but now it seems that things are not as simple as he thought. Zabuza Namikaze wasn't particularly worried about Boruto, a mere child. He confidently believed that even if they were enemies, Boruto was just another ant to be dealt with. He raised the corners of his mouth contemptuously and provocatively asked in a disdainful tone, "So, you're all alone, how do you plan to deal with me?" Boruto remained unmoved by Zabuza's provocation and calmly replied, "I am enough to deal with you on my own." Zabuza Namikaze was displeased with Boruto's disdain and retorted, "Humph, you greenhorn brat, you've got quite the nerve. I'd like to see just how capable you are, and whether you're worthy of spouting such nonsense here." Chapter 4. Just you wait and see. Boruto confidently raised the corners of his mouth, then quickly pulled out several shuriken from his waist and threw them at Zabuza. Zabuza remained calm and composed in the face of Boruto's shuriken attacks. His executioner's blade drew arcs in the air, as if weaving an invisible net. Each flash of the blade accurately struck the incoming darts, deflecting them one by one. The collision between the darts and the blades sparked a series of sparks, accompanied by a crisp metallic clang that echoed in the air. These darts eventually fell helplessly to the ground, posing no threat to Zabuza. "If this is all you've got, then I'm truly disappointed. Your attacks are so weak, they're hardly interesting." Zabuza's mockery was palpable. "Oh? Is that so?" Boruto took a deep breath in the face of Zabuza's provocation, gathered his chakra in his palm, and several powerful streams of energy began to swirl around his hand, gradually forming a visible energy vortex. "What? That's Raise Nan." Kakashi's pupils contracted sharply, his gaze fixed on the chakra ball gradually taking shape in Boruto's hand, an unbelievable shock surging through his heart. He recognized the familiar shape and energy fluctuations. It was the Raise Nan, a technique created by his former teacher, the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze. The Raise Nan is an A-rank ninjutsu created by Minato, requiring extremely high chakra control. As far as I know, besides Minato himself and myself, the only person who can master this technique is Minato's master, Jiraiya. And now, Boruto can also use the Raise Nan. Kakashi's thoughts raced. The name Boruto Namikaze, the shadow clone technique he had previously demonstrated, and the Raise Nan he was currently using, these clues intertwined in Kakashi's mind, forming an increasingly clear hypothesis. Although Boruto has mastered the powerful Raise Nan, its power is difficult to unleash at the current distance. As a close-range ninjutsu, the Raise Nan requires a close distance to the opponent to unleash its maximum destructive power. Moreover, his Raise Nan is smaller than the normal one. Therefore, even if Boruto can use the Raise Nan, it's meaningless if he can't get close enough to Zabuza and land a clear hit. Kakashi didn't believe that this young man, who was about the same age as Naruto and Sasuke, had mastered chakra to the point of being able to walk and run freely on the lake. Zabuza's gaze lingered on Boruto for a moment, a hint of wariness flashing in his eyes. Zabuza could sense a potential threat emanating from the blue orb in Boruto's hand. He quickly adjusted his posture, holding the decapitation sword upright in front of him, assuming a defensive stance. "This is interesting. Looks like I need to get serious." He put away his previous disdain for Boruto. Boruto's Raise-Nan had already taken shape, chakra swirling in his palm, his gaze fixed on Zabuza in the center of the lake. Go! With a loud shout, Boruto forcefully swung the Raise-Nan in his hand, and the chakra ball streaked through the air like a meteor, heading straight for Zabuza. What? The Raise-Nan was actually thrown out. Boruto's action completely stunned Kakashi. He had never seen anyone throw a Raise-Nan in this way before, but Boruto's appearance broke this convention, which was completely beyond his comprehension. Boruto's Raise-Nan traced an arc in the air, and as it flew away from Boruto's palm, the spinning chakra ball began to gradually shrink. Its size decreased continuously during flight, and its energy seemed to gradually dissipate in the air. Finally, when it was still some distance away from Zabuza, the Raise-Nan completely disappeared, failing to achieve the attack effect that Kakashi had expected. Kakashi watched the Raise-Nan dissipate in the air, a wave of disappointment washing over him. He shook his head slightly and sighed softly, "Alas, it seems I was still pushing it too far." The Raise-Nan is a ninjutsu that requires direct contact with the target, throwing it out of the air goes against its very nature. In Kakashi's eyes, although Boruto's plan failed, this action opened up new avenues for him. If the method of using Raise-Nan is adjusted and improved, it might actually be possible to achieve long-range attacks, provided that one can survive. This is ridiculous. I couldn't even touch it, and I was even trying. Ugh! Before Zabuza could finish speaking, he suddenly received a heavy blow to the face, causing him to let out a painful groan. He exclaimed in disbelief, How is this possible? Boruto's attack not only severely injured Zabuza, but also directly led to the breaking of Zabuza's water prison technique. It worked. Boruto jumped up excitedly when he saw that his attack had successfully broken the water prison technique. Kakashi found himself free again, and he muttered to himself, "So it really is possible. Kakashi-sensei. That's great, Kakashi-sensei is free too." Naruto was overjoyed, having also dealt with Zabuza's water clone. Kakashi gave Boruto a deep look, then replied to Naruto, "Yet." Zabuza's rage erupted like a volcano. His voice was filled with fury as he roared at Boruto, "Damn it! You brat!" His hand swiftly reached for his waist, where a sharp Fuma shuriken gleamed coldly. Without hesitation, he threw the shuriken, aiming directly at Boruto. However, Kakashi stepped in front of Boruto and caught the Fuma shuriken. Kakashi's eyes turned extremely ferocious at that moment. After that tense standoff, the atmosphere between Kakashi and Zabuza Mamakai became even more somber. The two stood at opposite ends of the battlefield and began to seriously practice their hand seals and compete. Water release, water dragon bullet technique. Water release, water dragon bullet technique. In the fierce battle, Kakashi and Zabuza Mamakai completed their respective ninjutsu hand seals almost simultaneously. As the two completed their hand gestures, two powerful chakras met in mid-air, unleashing a deafening roar. The ninjutsu collided in the air, generating a huge energy fluctuation, which eventually cancelled each other out and vanished into nothingness. Kakashi's insightful observations and combat experience allowed him to accurately predict Zabuza's every move and psychological shift. He not only saw through Zabuza's ninjutsu but also discerned his opponent's tactical intentions and mental state. Water release, great waterfall technique. A massive wave surged towards Zabuza Mamakai, so powerful that Zabuza was almost powerless against it, crashing heavily against a large tree not far away. At that moment, a mysterious ninja wearing a mask silently appeared at the edge of the battlefield. The ninja took out two thin needles from his ninja tool bag, flicked them with his finger, and the needles flew out, hitting Zabuza Mamakai's nape with perfect accuracy. After confirming that Zabuza Mamakai had lost all signs of life, Kakashi had a brief exchange with the mysterious ninja. After confirming that the other party was indeed a pursuit ninja from Kirigakure, responsible for tracking down and dealing with rogue ninjas, Zabuza's corpse was handed over to this pursuit ninja. After taking Zabuza's corpse, the hidden mist village ninja who had been pursuing him vanished before everyone's eyes like a gust of wind. Boruto was puzzled by Kakashi's actions and asked him, "We were the ones who defeated Zabuza, so why are you just handing him over?" "Kakashi-senpai." Naruto quickly chimed in, "That's right. If that's the case, then what was the point of fighting so desperately just now?" Kakashi gently patted Boruto and Naruto on the shoulder and explained in a calm tone, "In the world of ninjas, we do encounter some unpredictable situations. Sometimes, even if we put in a lot of effort, the results may not be as we wish. But remember, every experience is valuable, it helps us grow. If you feel resentful, turn that feeling into motivation. Next time you encounter a similar situation, we can learn from our mistakes and do better. Alright, let's cheer up and move on." After saying this, Kakashi turned around and started walking forward. Although Kakashi's tone was relaxed, his body was exhausted from using the Sharingan for a long time. He hadn't gone far when he suddenly felt dizzy and the world in front of him began to sway. He tried to steady himself, but ultimately could not resist the sudden feeling of weakness. His body involuntarily leaned forward and fell straight down. "Kakashi-sensei." Boruto and Naruto immediately tensed up upon seeing this and rushed over to Kakashi to check on his condition. When Kakashi realized that Zabuza might still be alive, he decided to have Boruto and Naruto begin a special training program, tree climbing, a special training program for chakra usage. This training requires them to use chakra to walk on tree trunks, which not only improves their control over chakra but also enhances their physical coordination and agility. Naruto tried to climb the tree, but lost his balance after only a few steps, stumbled, and fell heavily to the ground. Sasuke, on the other hand, appeared more composed. He used his chakra to move slowly along the tree trunk, and although his movements were still a bit clumsy, he was already able to climb to a height of 4 or 5 meters. Sakura displayed amazing concentration during her first attempt to climb the tree. Under their watchful eyes, Sakura eventually succeeded in climbing the trunk. Naruto watched Sakura sit steadily on the tree trunk, a look of admiration on his face. He couldn't help but exclaim, "Wow, Sakura, you're amazing. No wonder I've set my sights on you." Following Naruto's words, a shocked voice pierced the sky. Boruto felt like he had heard some incredible news. His own father actually had a crush on Sasuke's master's wife. This incident shocked Boruto for an entire year. Naruto was startled by Boruto's sudden scream and covered his ears, feeling a tearing pain in his eardrums. "What's wrong, Boruto? Is something wrong?" Boruto seemed flustered, his voice trembling slightly as he stammered, "No. Dad." "Naruto, you actually like Sakura?" Naruto frowned slightly, looking somewhat confused, but still nodded firmly, responding to Boruto's question, "That's right, I do like Sakura, you wouldn't." Then, Naruto slowly walked towards Boruto, his squinting eyes fixed on Boruto, trying to see through what Boruto was thinking. Boruto felt a wave of panic and stammered, "WH? What's wrong?" He was worried that his father might be suspicious of his identity. Naruto suddenly clapped his hands, a look of sudden realization on his face, and said to Boruto, "You brat, you wouldn't like Sakura too, would you? Damn it! Has another love rival suddenly appeared out of nowhere?" When Boruto saw Naruto's scrutinizing gaze, as if he were examining a love rival, he immediately raised his voice and firmly retorted, "That's not true at all." Boruto felt somewhat helpless. How could he possibly like Aunt Sakura? They weren't even from the same generation. Upon hearing Boruto's answer, Naruto finally felt relieved. He breathed a sigh of relief, a relaxed smile spreading across his face, and said in an energetic voice, "All right. Let's continue training." Kakashi noticed that Boruto was still immersed in the conversation and didn't seem to have fully recovered, so he asked, "What? Don't you want to give it a try?" Boruto waved his hand lightly, shook his head, and replied, never mind, I'd better not join in the fun. As a ninja who once stood on the Chunin exams stage, there was no need for him to show off in front of a group of genin who had not yet participated in the Chunin exams, even though he had not been able to cross that threshold to become a Chunin that time. Naruto glanced at Boruto and teased, "Ha ha ha, Kakashi-sensei, he's definitely scared. He might not even be able to beat me." Upon hearing Naruto's words, Boruto's forehead veins bulged, and a surge of resentment welled up within him. What? This damn old man! He's so weak and he still dares to mock me. I could easily jump higher than him if he's climbed to this level, and he still has the nerve to make sarcastic remarks to me. Without hesitation, Boruto quickly moved to the base of the large tree and concentrated his chakra at the soles of his feet. With the flow of chakra, he lightly stepped onto the tree trunk and effortlessly climbed to the treetop. He imitated Kakashi, hanging upside down on the branch, to show off his strength in front of Naruto. What? This was hard for Uchiha Sasuke to accept. He had always been regarded as a genius by everyone, possessing ninjutsu talent and combat skills that surpassed ordinary people. He never expected that there would be someone among his peers who was so much stronger than him. Sakura is one thing, although she excels in theoretical knowledge and precise control of chakra, Sasuke believes that her practical combat ability is still far behind his own. However, the Namikaze Boruto in front of him not only showed great skill in using chakra, but his performance in the previous battle with Zabuza also impressed him greatly. Wow, that's amazing! Compared to Sasuke, Naruto didn't have as many ulterior motives. Alright. I absolutely can't lose. While they were engrossed in their training, Kakashi quietly approached Boruto and whispered, "Boruto, let's find somewhere to talk." He then turned and slowly walked towards a secluded corner, gesturing for Boruto to follow. Boruto was a little confused. Why couldn't he just ask directly? Why all the secrecy? "Kakashi-senpai, what's going on?" Kakashi stopped and turned around, looking directly at Boruto as he asked, "Boruto, I noticed that you used the shadow clone technique and the raise nan in your battle against Zabuza. These are both signature techniques of Konoha. Why did you use them?" Although Kakashi already had some suspicions, he still hoped to get Boruto's confirmation in person to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings. Boruto had anticipated that Kakashi would ask him about the raise nan, so he prepared his answer in advance. "My father is a ninja from Konoha, and the raise nan is one of his best ninjutsu. It's not surprising that I can use it." Kakashi grasped the keywords in Boruto's speech: Konoha, raise nan, and dad. He understood immediately and thought to himself, "So that's how it is, sensei." Kakashi continued, "And who is your father?" Chapter 5. Boruto felt a little helpless when he heard Kakashi's question. His lips twitched slightly. "Are you interrogating me?" Faced with Kakashi's question, could I possibly say that Naruto, the little brat practicing climbing trees over there right now, is my father? Who would believe that? Boruto was silent for a moment, then slowly spoke, his tone heavy, "My father may no longer be in this world." Boruto's point is not entirely wrong. In his current environment, he cannot be sure whether he is in a genjutsu or surrounded by some kind of illusion created by Momoshiki. The seventh Naruto is indeed not in this world. Kakashi nodded. Since Boruto wouldn't tell him, he wouldn't press him. After all, once they arrived in Konoha, there would be plenty of time to find out the truth. One last question. I noticed that your raise nan seems to disappear and reappear after being thrown, damaging Zabuza in the process. How did you do that? Kakashi was genuinely curious about the raise nan technique that Boruto had previously demonstrated. With a proud expression, Boruto explained to Kakashi in detail, "I incorporated the nature transformation of lightning release into the raise nan. By changing the nature of chakra, I can inflict unexpected damage on the enemy." Kakashi stared blankly at the young boy before him, thinking to himself, is he a genius? Jiraiya and I have not been able to discover the possibility of incorporating other nature transformations in such a long time, yet he has mastered it. Kakashi and Boruto returned together to the training ground where Sasuke and the others were training. Sakura and Sasuke both showed significant progress in training, with their skills and strength steadily improving. In contrast, Naruto, despite his efforts, seemed to be making very little progress. This made Sakura think that Naruto might use his unique methods, such as being a scoundrel or making jokes, to avoid the difficulties of training. To Sakura's surprise, Naruto showed no signs of giving up. On the contrary, when Boruto and Kakashi returned to the training ground, Naruto immediately seized the opportunity. He enthusiastically pulled Boruto aside and eagerly asked him for advice on how to improve training effectiveness. Naruto asked Boruto with a hint of pleading, Boruto, could you teach me some tips for success? I promise I won't tell Sasuke. I really want to surpass him and Sakura. Faced with his father's request, Boruto felt a strange sense of unease, as if his role had been misplaced at that moment. A few days later, Boruto and his group arrived at the bridge under construction. They found that the once bustling construction site had suddenly become unusually quiet, and all the workers had collapsed on the ground, unconscious. Immediately afterwards, a thick fog rose from the river and quickly spread, enveloping the entire bridge in a hazy mist. Under the cover of the thick fog, Sasuke and his companions suddenly found themselves silently surrounded by Zabuza's water clones. Sasuke has made significant progress in his recent special training. In the dense fog, facing Zabuza's 7 water clones, he used his ninjutsu and combat skills to eliminate them all in an instant. As the water clones disappeared, Zabuza Momoshiki and Haku gradually appeared in the mist, standing opposite Sasuke and the others. Bai quickly formed a hand seal, crossed his hands in front of his chest, and chanted the incantation, secret technique, magic mirror ice crystal. A dozen enormous ice mirrors surrounded Sasuke. These mirrors were created by Haku's secret technique, demon mirror ice crystals. They not only trapped Sasuke in the center, but each mirror also reflected Sasuke's image, forming a visual maze. In the labyrinth of the magic mirror ice crystals, Sasuke faced countless white phantoms whose attack speed was so fast that they were almost impossible to discern. In just a few breaths, Sasuke had suffered multiple wounds, and blood gushed from the wounds, staining his clothes red. He tried his best to dodge the attacks, but in this complex environment, it became extremely difficult to avoid being hit. Fortunately, just as Sasuke was in trouble, Naruto Uzumaki, who had just defeated 2 ninjas hired by Gato and successfully rescued Inari and her son, arrived in time. By knocking Haku out of the magic mirror ice crystals, Sasuke's attack rhythm was disrupted, giving him a chance to catch his breath. Because Boruto and Kakashi were engaged in a fierce battle with Zabuza and were unable to spare the time, Sasuke decided to join forces with Naruto to attack from both inside and outside and break through Haku's demonic mirror ice crystal. He gestured to Naruto, hoping the two of them could cooperate and attack simultaneously from different directions to break the deadlock. However, Naruto seemed to misunderstand Sasuke's intentions. Instead of waiting for Sasuke's signal, he walked directly into the range of the demonic mirror ice crystal, which angered Sasuke so much that he spat out a mouthful of blood. Enveloped in thick fog, Kakashi's Sharingan was restricted, his vision became blurred, and visibility was very low. Zabuza, a genius of silent killing, is not only skilled in silent attacks, but can also determine the enemy's location by sound alone. In this environment, Zabuza's advantages are further amplified. Under the cover of the thick fog, Zabuza silently approached Kakashi and launched a sneak attack using the fog as cover. Kakashi was caught off guard and injured by Zabuza's attack, causing his wound to bleed profusely. Wind Release, Gale Palm. Boruto quickly used a wind release ninjutsu, attempting to use the power of the wind to disperse the surrounding thick fog. He concentrated his chakra and pushed his hands forward, unleashing a fierce gust of wind that swept away the surrounding mist. Although the mist was temporarily dispersed, it quickly gathered again, enveloping the area once more. Boruto felt somewhat unwilling as he faced the stubborn fog. He clenched his fists and wondered to himself, is there really no way to dispel this fog? Watch out! Kakashi's urgent voice rang out from not far away, accompanied by a whooshing sound. Kakashi's reminder immediately alerted Boruto. He quickly focused his mind and used the shadow clone technique to create 4 clones that tightly surrounded Tazuna, forming a protective circle. Zabuza moved through the mist like a phantom, eliminating Boruto's clones one by one. Even Boruto himself was left with a long wound on his shoulder, from which blood slowly seeped out, and pain instantly struck. At the critical moment when Boruto was injured, Kakashi arrived in time and successfully repelled Zabuza, temporarily relieving Boruto and Tazuna from their crisis. In the distance, an exceptionally powerful burst of chakra suddenly erupted, its strength shocking both Zabuza and Kakashi. The fluctuation of chakra was so intense that both of them involuntarily felt a chill and began to suspect each other. Boruto also sensed this familiar chakra fluctuation. Although it was different from what he had felt before, he immediately recognized the source of the power, and a smile appeared on Boruto's face. Kurama has already started helping Dad. With Kurama's help, it seems the battle over there is about to end. I need to start working hard too. Unlike Boruto, Kakashi's eyes showed worry. He recognized the power as the 9-tailed fox's chakra and was concerned about whether Naruto could control it. Naruto, what's going on? Has the seal been broken at this time? Kakashi realized that the current situation was urgent, and if Naruto's seal were completely broken, it could lead to unpredictable consequences. Therefore, this battle must be ended as soon as possible before Naruto's seal is completely broken, to ensure everyone's safety. Kakashi quickly took out a scroll from his waist, and without hesitation bit his finger and smeared his blood on the scroll. As the blood seeped in, mysterious runes appeared on the scroll. Then, a cloud of smoke rose, summoning its summoning beasts, the 8 ninja dogs. With their keen sense of smell, the 8 ninja dogs detected the scent of blood that Kakashi had deliberately left on the executioner's blade. This scent acted like an invisible clue, guiding them to quickly pinpoint Zabuza's location. Under Kakashi's command, the 8 ninja dogs acted swiftly, surrounding Zabuza and effectively restricting his movements. As Zabuza was successfully controlled by the 8 ninja dogs, the thick fog that had enveloped the surroundings began to gradually dissipate. When Boruto saw that Zabuza had been successfully controlled by the 8 ninja dogs and was unable to move, he immediately realized that this was a golden opportunity. He quickly concentrated his chakra, and a raised nan condensed in his palm. Without the slightest hesitation, Boruto forcefully threw the raised nan towards Zabuza. The raised nan, carrying spinning chakra, headed straight for Zabuza. At that critical moment, Haku suddenly appeared in front of Zabuza, using his own body as a shield, with the magic mirror ice crystal in front of him, blocking Boruto's raised nan. With a crisp sound of shattering glass, the impact of the raised nan sent Haku and Zabuza flying together. Kakashi seized the opportunity and swiftly activated his lightning blade, rushing towards Zabuza like a bolt of lightning. Since the restraints on the 8 ninja dogs had been released, Zabuza barely managed to avoid a fatal attack at the last moment. The lightning blade only pierced through his shoulder. Everyone was wondering why Haku was on this battlefield, and where were Naruto and Sasuke. Sakura's gaze swept across the battlefield, finally landing on Naruto in the distance. She noticed that Naruto seemed to be standing there somewhat dazed, which made her a little worried. She called out to Naruto, "Naruto, are you all right? Where's Sasuke?" Faced with Sakura's concern, Naruto slowly turned his gaze to Sasuke's location. A complex emotion flashed in his eyes. Then, he clenched his teeth, closed his eyes in pain, and remained silent. Sakura immediately noticed that something was wrong with Naruto. His silence and pained expression gave her an ominous feeling. Tazuna, Boruto, and Sakura rushed toward Naruto's location, and as they approached, the sight before them made their hearts sink. Sasuke lay motionless on the ground, his face pale, with many small needles stuck in his body. He had clearly lost consciousness. Sakura knelt beside Sasuke, her hand trembling as she gently touched his cheek, feeling its icy coolness. She murmured to herself, "So cold. Is this no longer a genjutsu?" Boruto watched as Sakura knelt tearfully beside Sasuke. He knew in his heart that Sasuke couldn't possibly be dying at this time, but a wave of sorrow still welled up from the bottom of his heart. Boruto stood there, and couldn't help but imagine if he were in Sakura's situation, facing the death of a close friend or relative, would he feel even more heartbroken than Sakura? He comforted Sakura, saying, "Don't worry, Sasuke is so strong, he'll definitely be fine." Kakashi was still fiercely fighting Zabuza when suddenly, Gato appeared on the other side of the bridge, leading a group of his subordinates and showing up menacingly. Zabuza's arms were already severely injured from the battle just now. When he saw Gato appear on the other side of the bridge with a group of subordinates, a shadow of malice flashed in his eyes. He questioned Kato in a cold, emotionless tone, "Kato, why are you here? And what is your purpose with so many men?" Upon hearing Zabuza's question, Gato's lips curled into a contemptuous smile. He replied in a condescending manner, "The battle plan has undergone a slight change. Zabuza, don't blame me. Now, please end your life right here." Chapter 6. Upon hearing Gato's words, Zabuza's face showed an expression of disbelief, his eyes widening as if he couldn't believe his ears. "What did you just say?" Zabuza's voice revealed a hint of anger. Kato continued in a slight tone, "Considering that going to those ninja villages to hire those well-trained and renowned regular ninjas would undoubtedly be a huge expense. Therefore, I chose a fugitive ninja like you because I know that your reward requirements are relatively low, and you also possess excellent combat skills and the ability to carry out missions." Kato paused for a moment, then added, "In other words, from the very beginning, I never intended to pay you the agreed-upon reward. What I desired was to create conflict among you ninjas, and to achieve my goals through your fighting." Honestly, he even called himself a demon from Kirigakure. It's laughable. I'll turn you into a wandering ghost in a minute. The followers behind Kato were laughing so hard they were almost falling over. Their laughter echoed in the air, sounding rather jarring. Zabuza's gaze, sharp as a sword, was fixed on Gato. Without turning his head, he said to Kakashi, "I'm sorry, Kakashi, our battle has lost its meaning. Since I no longer have the motivation to kill Tajuna, there is no need for me to continue this battle with you." With a surge of anger, Kato took a few steps forward, then suddenly raised his foot and kicked Bai hard in the face, who was lying on the ground. This kick was clearly revenge for the old grudge that Bai had broken his hand before, and a look of vengeful pleasure appeared on Cardo's face. Seeing that Bai didn't react, Kato poked Bai's head with his cane. He snorted impatiently and said disdainfully, "Humph! Is this guy really dead?" Seeing Zabuza's indifference to Gato's actions, Naruto felt a surge of anger. He couldn't help but shout at Zabuza, "Can you really just stand by and do nothing? You possess such immense power, can you really become so cold-blooded and heartless?" After Naruto's angry outburst, Zabuza seemed to be touched, and tears welled up in his eyes, a scene that surprised Naruto. "I know better than anyone that he was determined to fight not only for me, but also for you. He was just too gentle. Perhaps I, like him, cannot be a tool without feelings. I lost." Zabuza suddenly bit through the bandage on his mouth. The sound of the bandage breaking was exceptionally clear in the air, and he revealed his shark-like sharp teeth. Then, he borrowed a kunai from Naruto, bit the handle of the kunai with his teeth, and held it in his mouth. Without hesitation, he rushed towards Gato. Kato was terrified by the sudden attack and scrambled to avoid Zabuza's assault. When Zabuza broke through the encirclement and finally reached Gato, his stamina was nearing its limit, and his body was covered with wounds from the battle. He slashed the kunai in his mouth at Kato, leaving a deep, bone-revealing wound from which blood gushed out, staining the surrounding ground red. Just as Gato's men were preparing to launch a sneak attack while Zabuza was exhausted, a lithe figure suddenly appeared, wielding a huge guillotine. He wielded his incredibly sharp weapon, defeating all the enemies who attempted to ambush Zabuza with clean and swift movements. During a lull in the battle, Zabuza noticed the commotion behind him. He turned around and scanned the battlefield with his eyes. Upon seeing that familiar figure, he exclaimed in surprise, "Bye! It's you? I didn't expect you to still be alive." Haku looked at Zabuza and replied, "Zabuza-san, I want to protect you again." Bai noticed Kato's attempt to escape in the chaos. Without hesitation, he drew his kunao and attacked Kato. The kunao struck Kato's legs accurately, severing part of the muscles in his thighs, rendering him unable to escape. He could only lie on the ground in agony, unable to move. Kato's screams echoed in the air, a wail of despair and pain. He looked at Zabuza and Haku, his eyes filled with fear and pleading, and said in a trembling voice, "Please, spare me. I was wrong, I really know I was wrong. Money. I have so much money, I can give you half of my assets, just please spare my life." Seeing that Zabuza and Haku were unmoved by his first offer, Gato felt he had to offer something more tempting. He spoke again urgently, his voice filled with despair and madness, "No, all of it. All of it. I'm willing to give more. I'm willing to give you all my assets, enough for you to enjoy a life of luxury for several lifetimes. Please, I beg you, let me go." Zabuza remained unmoved by Gato's pleas and the lure of money. He interrupted Gato's pleas and said coldly, "We don't need these. Go to hell." With that, Zabuza ended Gato's life with a single stroke. After dealing with Gato, Zabuza's gaze swept over Gato's subordinates like a blade. His eyes were filled with murderous intent, instantly putting immense pressure on his previously restless subordinates. They were stunned by Zabuza's merciless gaze and involuntarily took a step back. In the tense atmosphere, Inari led many island residents to the scene in time to join the fight. At the same time, Boruto, Naruto, and Kakashi also acted quickly, each creating shadow clones. The massive clones quickly appeared on the scene, providing them with powerful support. The henchmen, who had already lost all will to fight, were terrified by the sight before them. Without further hesitation, they scrambled to escape the bridge, hoping to get away from this dangerous place as quickly as possible. The island's inhabitants cheered as they watched Kato's henchmen flee in terror, their voices echoing through the air. Sasuke finally woke up from his coma. When Naruto saw Sasuke wake up, an indescribable surge of emotion welled up inside him, and tears welled up in his eyes. "It's so good that he's all right." Once Zabuza confirmed that the situation had stabilized, his tense nerves finally relaxed. Due to the previous battles and mental stress, his physical and mental strength had reached their limit, and he collapsed into Bai's arms. Naruto stepped forward with concern, his gaze falling on Zabuza in Haku's arms. He looked at Haku with a questioning look and asked worriedly, "Is Zabuza all right? Does he need any help?" Haku gently shook his head and replied to Naruto, "Zabuza-san is indeed seriously injured. His physical condition is very bad. It will probably take a long time for him to fully recover. Without several months of rest and treatment, it will be difficult for him to recover." Kakashi turned his gaze to Zabuza and Haku, pointed at Zabuza, and asked, "What are your plans next? Are you going to continue searching for wealthy patrons like Gato and living that life on the edge? Wherever Zabuza goes, I will go, whatever he does, I will follow him." Haku glanced at Zabuza and replied. Bai Wei nodded slightly in acknowledgement and said softly, "Then, we'll take our leave." He then carried the unconscious Zabuza on his back and prepared to depart. In a sudden hurricane, Bai's figure became blurred and disappeared from everyone's sight. As Haku and Zabuza's figures disappeared, his voice also faded away with the howling wind, leaving only a final word of gratitude, and "Thank you, Naruto." With the bridge finally completed, Naruto and his group held a brief farewell ceremony with Inari and the island's residents. After saying goodbye, Naruto and his group embarked on their journey home. When the bridge was completed, Tajuna decided to give it a special name, Naruto Bridge. On his way back to Konoha, Kakashi suddenly stopped. Naruto was chatting happily with Sakura, completely unaware that Kakashi had suddenly stopped. As a result, he was caught off guard and bumped directly into Kakashi's back, making a slight thud. Naruto rubbed his forehead, which was red from the impact, and complained, "Ouch, that hurts so much." "Kakashi-sensei, why did you suddenly stop?" Kakashi slowly turned his head and stared at Boruto with a very serious expression. Boruto felt a little flustered as Kakashi stared at him with that kind of gaze. He calmed himself down and asked, "What's wrong?" "Kakashi-senpai, why are you staring at me like that? Is there something on my face?" Kakashi's gaze lingered on Boruto for a moment, then he said in a slow, heavy tone, "Boruto, you can't come back to Konoha with us." "Hey! Why? Kakashi-sensei? Didn't we agree on this before? Why did you suddenly change your mind?" Before Boruto could answer, Naruto immediately protested. Sakura and Sasuke nodded in agreement when they heard Naruto's question. Having gone through a fierce battle with Zabuza, they already considered Boruto a comrade in arms. They couldn't understand what had gotten into Kakashi, why he had suddenly changed his mind, and they were all waiting for Kakashi to give a reasonable explanation. Kakashi, seeing Sakura, Sasuke, and Naruto's confusion, did not respond immediately, but instead reached out and grabbed Boruto's head. Chapter 7. Sasuke and the others felt a chill run down their spines upon seeing this. They thought Kakashi was about to take some harsh measures against Boruto. Kakashi's actions surprised everyone. He didn't make any aggressive moves, but gently removed Boruto's headband. He smiled and said to Boruto, "You're wearing a headband from a Konoha rogue ninja now, you know." He continued, "If we let you walk right through the gates of Konoha, regardless of what other ninja villages think of Konoha, I'm afraid you'll be captured by Konoha's ANBU before you even get inside." When Naruto saw that Kakashi had only removed Boruto's headband and hadn't actually taken any action against him, his tense nerves finally relaxed. "What? Kakashi-sensei, you can just say something like that, is it really necessary to make such a fuss?" Kakashi scolded the nonchalant Naruto, "What do you mean by just this kind of thing? Every ninja village takes the matter of rogue ninjas very seriously, and I'm not joking." After giving Naruto a stern lecture, Kakashi's expression softened slightly. He handed the rogue ninja headband back to Boruto. "Anyway, Boruto, you should put away this rogue ninja headband for now. Don't show it to just anyone. This thing must be very important to you, right?" "Yes. Thank you, Kakashi-senpai." Boruto nodded, took the headband from Kakashi, and put it into his ninja tool pouch. This headband was a gift from Sasuke-sensei. "All right. Let's move on then." With that, Kakashi strode forward. Boruto followed closely in Kakashi's footsteps and together they entered the border of Konoha village. They encountered no obstacles and successfully crossed the entrance to Konoha village. As Boruto and Kakashi's group entered Konoha village, the first thing they saw was the village's most eye-catching landmark, the Hokage Rock. This huge rock is carved with the faces of all the Hokage to date, arranged in order from the first Hokage to the fourth Hokage. Boruto and his friends wander through the streets of Konoha village and find that it is completely different from what they remember. This change also made him feel unfamiliar, as if he was no longer part of the village, but had become a traveler visiting for the first time. Kakashi laughed and said, "We've been walking for so long, you must all be hungry by now. Let's go, I'll treat you to Ichiraku ramen." Yay! Naruto was so excited when he heard that Kakashi-sensei was going to take him to Ichiraku ramen that he jumped up and waved his hands in the air. Sakura and Sasuke were exasperated by Naruto's exaggerated reaction. They both covered their foreheads with their hands, pretending not to know him, which was really embarrassing. Boruto also wanted to try out what made Ichiraku Ramen different in this era. Boruto stood in front of Ichiraku Ramen, his gaze lingering on the exterior. He noticed that the shop wasn't as grand as he had imagined, instead, it seemed rather small. As Boruto and his friends stepped into Ichiraku Ramen, they were greeted by the familiar and enthusiastic welcome from the owner, "Uncle Ichiraku, welcome." "Oh, isn't this Naruto? It's been a while since I've seen you." Uncle Ichiraku then turned his gaze to Boruto behind Naruto, and said with a hint of curiosity, "Oh? There's another unfamiliar face I've never seen before. This kid looks just like Naruto, almost like twins. Right? I also think this kid is a bit like me." Naruto chuckled and patted his stomach. "Let's not talk about this anymore, I'm starving. Uncle Ichiraku, give me a big bowl of miso jasher ramen." Uncle Ichiraku responded to Naruto's order with a smile, "No problem, one large bowl of miso jasher ramen. Does anyone else want to order?" Afterwards, the others also began to order food, choosing their favorite ramen based on their personal tastes and preferences. After everyone had chosen the ramen that suited their taste, Uncle Ichiraku immediately got busy in the kitchen. After a satisfying meal, they slowly stood up and thanked Uncle Ichiraku. They then left the ramen shop together. Naruto patted his round belly, his words filled with love for ramen. "It's truly worthy of Ichiraku Ramen. Every time I eat here, it's unforgettable. It's always so delicious." Looking at Naruto, who was beaming with happiness, Boruto thought to himself, "I never knew my dad loved ramen so much when he was little." Kakashi stood to the side, a smile on his face, but a hint of helplessness was visible in his eyes. His wallet seemed rather empty after Naruto's huge bowl of ramen, as if silently telling his story of grievance. Kakashi muttered to himself, "I didn't expect Naruto to be such a big eater. After one meal, my wallet and Naruto's belly have completely swapped places." Kakashi composed himself and looked at everyone, saying, "I must go ahead now. I need to report the results of our mission to the Hokage. I will rejoin you later." After everyone responded, Kakashi quickly disappeared from their sight. Seeing that it was getting late, Sasuke bid farewell to everyone. During Sakura's trip to the Land of Waves, her relationship with Sasuke improved significantly, and she felt it was a rare opportunity to further deepen their feelings for each other. So, she mustered her courage and, as Sasuke was saying goodbye, seized the opportunity to ask him out on a date, hoping to use this opportunity to further develop their relationship. Sasuke coldly and ruthlessly rejected her, leaving Sakura no room for illusions. "If you have so much free time to bother me, you might as well practice some more techniques." Sasuke turned around and added insult to injury for Sakura, bluntly stating, "To be honest, your performance on this trip to the Land of Waves was even worse than Naruto's." As soon as he finished speaking, Sasuke left without looking back. This resulted in Naruto, who was eavesdropping on their conversation, being caught in the crossfire. Sakura, who was already feeling down after being rejected on a date, was then hit hard by Sasuke's words, "You're not even as good as Naruto." It was like the last straw that broke the camel's back, deeply hurting her and making her feel more defeated than ever before. Boruto was stunned by what he heard. He never expected that Sasuke's master from when he was a child would be so sharp-tongued and speak so mercilessly. As Naruto watched Sasuke's figure gradually disappear into the distance, he waved to Sakura and shouted, "Sakura! Don't worry about that arrogant Sasuke. I'm always ready and have plenty of time to spend with you." Boruto felt a little embarrassed when he heard Naruto's words. He took a few steps back, gently touched his forehead with his hand, and showed a helpless bitter smile on his face. "I really can't bear to watch any more. How come my dad had such low emotional intelligence when I was a kid?" Hearing Naruto's words brought Sakura back to her senses, who was deep in thought. She immediately rolled up her sleeves and punched Naruto hard on the head. After dealing with Naruto, Sakura stormed off in anger. Naruto lay on the ground, his gaze following Sakura's receding figure. He stretched out a hand, as if trying to hold her back, and softly called out, "Sakura!" Boruto watched Naruto sprawled on the ground, looking utterly pathetic. He thought, how could my dad be so spineless when I was little? If it were me. No, Dad used to like Aunt Sakura so much, what about Mom? Come to think of it, I still haven't seen Mom. Looking at Naruto lying on the ground in a disheveled state, Boruto couldn't help but ask curiously, "Naruto, why is Sakura so mean to you? She seems to have a bad temper. Why do you still like her?" When Naruto heard Boruto's question, he replied, "What does it matter? As long as someone is cute, it doesn't matter if they have a bad temper." Boruto was taken aback. Really? As long as someone's cute, it doesn't matter if they have a bad temper. As Boruto fell into deep thought, Naruto slowly stood up from the ground, gently patted the dust off his clothes, and said to Boruto, "Hey Boruto, you've just arrived in Konoha, you probably haven't found a place to stay yet, right? If you don't mind, you're welcome to stay at my house for a while. My house isn't very big, but it can still accommodate one more person." Boruto's eyes lit up when he heard Naruto's suggestion, and he replied, "I would be more than happy to accept that, how could I possibly mind?" Naruto and Boruto walked side by side down the main street of Konoha village. Boruto's eyes kept darting around, filled with curiosity about the village in this era. As they walked, the street gradually branched into several different paths, and Boruto unconsciously headed in the direction he remembered, the place where he used to live. "Hey, Boruto, where are you going?" Naruto called out to Boruto, puzzled, as Boruto turned onto another side road. Boruto paused for a moment, then answered without thinking, "Where else could I go? Of course, back to... Oh. Sorry, I was a little distracted just now and almost went the wrong way." Boruto realized his mistake halfway through his sentence and quickly corrected himself. "I almost forgot, this isn't the world I used to live in anymore." As Boruto continued following Naruto, he began to notice the unusual nature of their surroundings. The streets they passed were mostly silent, a stark contrast to the bustling scene they had just witnessed. Boruto noticed that the people standing at the door were also watching them with scrutinizing and wary eyes, whispering among themselves. Whenever Boruto glanced at the people standing at the door, they would seem flustered and quickly look away, avoiding eye contact with him. Boruto gently tugged at Naruto's sleeve and asked him, "Naruto, have you noticed that they're looking at us a little strange? Is there something on our faces?" As Boruto spoke, he carefully wiped his cheeks with his hands, trying to clean off any non-existent dirt on his face. Naruto took a deep breath, trying to keep a calm expression. He didn't want Boruto to realize his situation in the village, worried that if Boruto knew about the rumors about him, he might start to distance himself from him like the other villagers. Chapter 8. Naruto tried his best to make his voice sound relaxed and natural, and he smiled as he said to Boruto, "Boruto, there's nothing strange about those looks. You're probably just too sensitive because you've only just arrived in Konoha. The people here are very friendly, so you don't need to worry." Despite his attempt to appear nonchalant, a barely perceptible tremor in his voice betrayed his deep-seated unease. "Is that so? But..." Boruto frowned slightly after hearing Naruto's explanation, seemingly wanting to ask more questions, but Naruto interrupted him in time, not wanting the topic to go any further. "No buts. I'm a little tired, let's hurry up and go," Naruto said, quickly pulling Boruto's sleeve and leading him towards home. Naruto thought to himself, as long as I get home, everything will be all right. Although Boruto was somewhat puzzled by Naruto's sudden agitation, he obediently nodded and replied, "Oh, okay." He didn't press the matter further. Although Boruto didn't outwardly press the matter, his inner curiosity compelled him to still try to catch the conversations of the surrounding villagers. "Look! This scourge of Konoha has returned to Konoha. And I even saw it. How unlucky! It seems I'll have to live in fear for the next few days, lest I be shrouded in this ominous aura. Damn it! How come that nine-tailed fox brat is back again? I haven't seen him for the past few days. I thought he was dead out there. I was so happy for nothing. You wretched scourge! I haven't even had a few days of peace and quiet. Why did you have to come back? You might as well just die already. So you don't cause us any more trouble. Who is this nine-tailed fox you're talking about? What terrible things has he done that you harbor such deep resentment towards him? You haven't been in Konoha village long, so you probably don't know anything about the village yet, right? Look, it's that brat with yellow hair and wearing that old-fashioned orange coat. Ha! He has done countless heinous things. He has killed countless people in Konoha village alone. Most importantly, he was responsible for the deaths of the fourth Hokage and his wife. It's truly baffling why the village's higher UPS would leave such a menace in the village. If it weren't for this fox demon boy going out of control and causing chaos in the village a few years ago, we would still be in the dark. Oh? Is it that scary? Then I should stay away from him to avoid getting involved unnecessarily. Whose child is this little guy? Come out and claim him. He actually dared to speak up for that fox demon, so he's probably not a good person either. The two of them, one a fox demon and the other a wicked one, no wonder they support each other, birds of a feather flock together. The villager's words contained a huge amount of information, which shocked Boruto's brain and left him unable to react for a moment. Nine-tailed fox demon, calamity, killed the fourth Hokage and his wife. Why is my dad called a menace by them? And how could dad possibly have killed the fourth Hokage's grandparents? Is the nine-tailed fox referring to Kurama? Isn't Kurama a good friend of the ninja world? Why is Kurama called the nine-tailed fox? The negative comments about Naruto lingered in his mind, leaving him puzzled. Boruto desperately wanted to stop and ask Naruto what was going on, to understand why there were such misunderstandings and prejudices. However, when he saw Naruto's tightly closed eyes and the beads of sweat on his forehead, he swallowed back the question he was about to ask. They decided to wait for a more suitable time to ask Naruto about all of this. Boruto silently followed behind Naruto, watching Naruto walk forward with his head down without saying a word. He felt a mix of emotions and didn't know what to say at that moment. He wanted to comfort Naruto, but he worried that his words would sound weak or inappropriate. Boruto finally managed to stammer out, "Are you all right, Naruto? They've all been slandering you like that, why did you have to put up with it?" Naruto calmly said, "It's okay, these things are nothing new to me." "Hey Boruto, will you distance yourself from me like they did?" As soon as Naruto finished speaking, he slowed down, turned around, and looked directly at Boruto, waiting for Boruto's reply. Despite Naruto's attempt to conceal his emotions with a calm exterior. But his hands were clenched into fists, his knuckles turned white from the force, and his body trembled slightly, all of which silently revealed the turmoil deep within his heart. Boruto responded to Naruto seriously. "How could that be? After all, aren't we companions?" Naruto lowered his head slightly, his gaze fixed on the soil beneath his feet. He didn't want Boruto to see his expression at that moment. "I don't know why this happened, I really don't know. From the moment I fainted a few years ago, I felt that the people around me always kept their distance from me. They looked at me with strange eyes, as if I carried some kind of ominous mark. They kept saying that I was a scourge of Konoha village. I once asked my third grandfather why everyone disliked me and distanced themselves from me, but they always avoided the topic. Until one day, Mizuki told me that I was the nine-tailed fox who killed Iruka-sensei's parents and destroyed the village, but Iruka-sensei was still willing to accept me as I am." Naruto changed the subject, giving Boruto a firm thumbs up and saying, "So, for my own sake and for Iruka-sensei's, I must become Hokage. I want everyone, including those who were prejudiced against me, to accept me." Boruto looked at his father, whose face was full of smiles and whose eyes were full of hope for the future, and suddenly felt a little heartbroken. So this was the reason why his father wanted to become Hokage. Seeing that Boruto hadn't responded for a long time, Naruto frowned slightly and said with some dissatisfaction, "What? Even you don't believe me?" Boruto snapped out of his daze upon hearing Naruto's question and hurriedly replied, "How could that be? I believe in you, Naruto, that you will definitely, absolutely become a great Hokage. Although, I hope even more that you can be a good father." After hearing the answer he wanted, Naruto grinned, put his arm around Boruto's shoulder, and said, "Right? Ha 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 ha." As Naruto and Boruto walked and talked, they unknowingly arrived at the building where Naruto lived. Before they even went upstairs, they heard a series of playful and joking sounds. "Okay, look at me. TCH, your aim isn't good either, you'll have to watch mine." Boruto curiously raised his head, his gaze passing through the dim streetlights and landing on the entrance upstairs. He saw several young children gathered together, throwing pebbles at a doorway. Among the group of kids, one of the older children suddenly noticed Naruto and himself downstairs. His eyes widened, and he shouted loudly to the other children, "Hey, look!" The eyes of the kids followed the direction the child was pointing, and when they saw Naruto, their expressions immediately changed from excitement to panic. One of the children suddenly cried out, "Oh no! The monster is back! Run!" With this cry, fear filled the children's faces. They quickly dropped the stones in their hands and scattered in all directions, as if a ferocious beast was chasing them. In an instant, the group of kids scattered like fallen leaves blown by a gust of wind, but they didn't forget to make a face at Naruto in their haste to escape. Naruto paid no attention to this and went straight upstairs, with Boruto following closely behind. When they arrived at Naruto's floor, Boruto frowned at the sight before him. Naruto's doorway was piled with all sorts of trash, including discarded cardboard boxes, plastic bags, and beverage bottles. Clearly, Naruto hadn't thrown the trash away himself. Naruto didn't say much when faced with the mess in front of his house. He just silently bent down and began to clean up the pile of garbage. Seeing this, Boruto didn't say anything and quickly joined in the cleaning. With their combined efforts, the trash was completely cleaned up, and the entrance was tidy again. Only then did he slowly open the door, "I'm back." However, the house was pitch black, and no one responded to Naruto's words. Only his own voice echoed in the empty room, which made Naruto slightly disappointed. "Welcome back," Boruto replied as if possessed. Chapter 9. Naruto stood outside and slowly opened the door, "I'm home." "Welcome back," Boruto replied as if possessed. Boruto's sudden answer caused Naruto's eyes to flash with surprise. He turned his head and fixed his gaze on Boruto. "What the hell, Boruto? Didn't you come back with me? What's going on here?" Naruto complained to Boruto, but his eyes couldn't hide his joy for Boruto. Boruto gently waved his hand and muttered in response to Naruto, "Naruto, you're the same way. You know perfectly well that no one's home, but you still say things like that on purpose." Ha 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 ha. The two looked at each other and laughed. Naruto warmly invited Boruto, "Come on in, don't just stand there like an idiot. My house isn't big and might look a bit messy, but it's better than standing outside." Boruto responded casually, "Haha, it's okay, don't worry, I won't mind. After all, no matter how chaotic things get, what's the worst that can happen?" Boruto's eyes quickly scanned every corner of the room, his expression suddenly froze, and he was completely stunned by the scene before him. Boruto stood at the door, took a deep breath, and tried to calm himself down. The situation at home was far beyond his expectations, the chaos was indescribable, like a small disaster scene. Boruto noticed that there were several empty cup noodle boxes scattered on the table, and several empty milk bottles next to them, their caps carelessly tossed aside. In addition, there were various food packaging bags and crumpled tissues, all piled up haphazardly on the table. Boruto secretly rejoiced that his mother wasn't around, otherwise there might have been quite a commotion at home. If Mom saw Dad looking like this, she'd probably tear him apart. Boruto felt a chill run down his spine whenever he thought of his mother's forced smile. Naruto quickly bent down and began picking up the trash scattered on the ground. His movements seemed a little flustered, and with an embarrassed smile, he explained to Boruto, "I'm really sorry, Boruto, I usually live alone, so I rarely have guests, and I haven't really cleaned up much." Naruto continued, his voice filled with gratitude, "Only Iruka-sensei would patiently teach me how to keep my room tidy while helping me clean up." Before long, Naruto had collected all the trash and put it into a large garbage bag. Naruto suddenly felt thirsty. He sat down wearily on the floor, reached into the cabinet next to him, took out a carton of milk, opened the lid without hesitation, and then tilted his head back and drank it in big gulps, making gurgling noises. Boruto watched Naruto drink milk with gusto and unconsciously swallowed, feeling his own throat become parched. He reached out and picked up the milk carton that Naruto had just put down, preparing to take a sip, but Naruto suddenly realized what was happening and quickly snatched the milk carton back from Boruto's hand. In the village, Naruto was not popular with everyone for some reason, so whenever he bought something, he could always feel some cold looks. "Every time I step into the store, I can feel the strange looks from the staff. Their eyes are filled with distrust, and I feel like a thief who is about to steal something and may do something wrong at any time. Even simple shopping becomes a psychological burden." Because of this unpleasant experience, Naruto gradually developed a coping strategy. He began to get into the habit of buying large quantities of milk and other daily necessities every time he went shopping, and then stockpiling them at home. In this way, Naruto can ensure that he has enough supplies when needed, so he doesn't have to go out to buy them frequently, thus avoiding too much contact with people and reducing the chances of being looked down upon. Therefore, it is understandable that some supplies may be stored beyond their expiration date. In this situation, one is unsure whether the milk they just drank has exceeded its expiration date. Boruto was puzzled when Naruto suddenly snatched the milk back. He asked, "What's wrong? I'm thirsty too." "Don't worry, I don't mind that you just drank some." But Naruto acted as if he wouldn't let him drink, which made Boruto think of a possibility. "Hey? You wouldn't be so stingy as to not even let your brother have a sip of milk, would you?" Naruto scratched the back of his head a little embarrassedly and explained, "Ah, sorry, Boruto, this bottle of milk is my favorite flavor, and look, it's almost finished. Wait, I'll go get you a new one." After Naruto finished speaking, he turned around and began rummaging through drawers and cabinets, picking up bottle after bottle of milk and examining them carefully. "I remember putting them here recently, there should be a few left." After a moment, he finally found the one he was looking for. "Phew, finally found it. Here you go, don't be shy." She handed the milk in her hand to Boruto. Boruto took the milk from Naruto, examined it carefully, and found that this bottle of milk was not significantly different from the previous one. He didn't dwell on it too much, but simply smiled and expressed his gratitude. Inside the Hokage's office in Konoha village, the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, stood by the window, a pipe in his hand, slowly exhaling wisps of smoke. His gaze was fixed on the tranquil Konoha village under the night sky through the window. Suddenly, a figure appeared silently not far behind him. It was Kakashi Hatake, who had recently returned from a mission to the Land of Waves and was now preparing to report the details of the mission to the Hokage. Kakashi tiptoed into the Hokage's office. He bowed slightly, knelt on the floor, and respectfully looked at Hiruzen Sarutobi's back, calling out, "Third Hokage." Hiruzen Sarutobi slowly turned around, his gaze falling on Kakashi, a gentle smile appearing on his weathered face. Hiruzen Sarutobi asked Kakashi with concern, "Kakashi, welcome back. Tell me, how did the mission to the Land of Waves go? How did Naruto do?" Kakashi remained kneeling, raising his head to reply to Hiruzen Sarutobi, Third Hokage. This mission in the Land of Waves is indeed more complicated than expected. Due to financial difficulties, the client, Mr. Tajuna, was unable to fully disclose all the details of the mission. During the mission, we encountered Zabuza Momoshiki, a fugitive ninja from Kirigakure. His strength should not be underestimated. Therefore, the difficulty of this mission has actually surpassed the original C rank and can be considered a B rank, or even A rank, challenge. Upon hearing Kakashi's report, Hiruzen Sarutobi's kind smile instantly froze. He frowned and asked urgently, "What? This happened on his first C rank mission? Naruto, he's not injured, is he?" Kakashi said in a deep voice, "Naruto's temperament has improved greatly after this mission, and he can now cooperate with the team. However, it seems that Naruto's seal is starting to loosen, and he has unleashed a powerful burst of Nine Tails Chakra." "What? The seal has actually broken? This is no small matter. Where is Naruto now?" Hiruzen Sarutobi's expression immediately turned serious when he heard Naruto unleash the Nine Tails Chakra. "Naruto is currently at home and in good condition with no abnormalities. At the time, due to the dense fog and obstructed vision, I was unable to see what happened clearly. However, after the fog dissipated, Naruto returned to normal, and the Nine Tails Chakra seemed to have subsided and did not reappear." Hiruzen Sarutobi breathed a sigh of relief and muttered to himself, "That's good, that's good. However, to ensure everything goes smoothly, I must find a suitable opportunity to personally see Naruto and reinforce his seal to ensure the safety of the village and him." After confirming Hiruzen Sarutobi's understanding of Naruto's situation, Kakashi briefly reported the details of some other missions. Hiruzen Sarutobi nodded slightly, indicating that he was aware of Kakashi's report. "Yes, I understand, Kakashi. You've worked hard, you can step back and rest now." Kakashi stood there, seemingly wanting to say something, but also appearing somewhat hesitant. Hiruzen Sarutobi noticed this and understood that Kakashi might have more to say, so he gently waved his hand, signaling the unrelated people around to leave the room temporarily so they could talk privately. Hiruzen Sarutobi sat down in the Hokage's chair and gestured to Kakashi, saying, "All right, Kakashi, they've all left. Now it's just the two of us here. Just tell me what's on your mind." Kakashi then slowly explained, "During this mission in the Land of Waves, I encountered a Konoha rogue ninja." Hiruzen Sarutobi's face showed a thoughtful expression. He nodded slightly, seemingly anticipating Kakashi's next words, "If it were just an ordinary rogue ninja, you could easily handle him. Since you specifically brought it up, this rogue ninja must have something special about him. Let me guess who it is. Could it be?" Hiruzen Sarutobi pondered for a moment, a sharp glint flashing in his eyes, before slowly uttering a name. "Could it be Orochimaru?" Kakashi shook his head. "Unfortunately, the Third Hokage guessed wrong. It's not Orochimaru, but this Konoha rogue ninja is indeed very special." Hiruzen Sarutobi raised an eyebrow slightly. "Oh? Not Orochimaru? Well, I'm a little curious. Besides him, which other rogue ninja do you value so much? Could it be that Kakashi encountered Itachi Uchiha? His situation was indeed very special, and his identity as a spy was highly classified, known only to a few high-ranking officials. It's perfectly normal that Kakashi didn't know the truth. Furthermore, Itachi Uchiha's publicly known identity was that of a Konoha rogue ninja." Kakashi stopped being coy and revealed the truth. "Actually, the rogue ninja I met was a boy about the same age as Naruto. We first met in a deep forest near the village. At that time, he was wearing a headband that symbolized a rogue ninja of Konoha." Kakashi continued, "During this mission in the Land of Waves, this boy not only did not become an obstacle for us, but also lent a helping hand at a crucial moment, helping us defeat Zabuza Momoshiki." Kakashi's tone became solemn as he pronounced the boy's name, word by word. "This boy's name is Boruto Namikaze. Chapter 10. What? You mean this boy's name is Namikaze Boruto? Hiruzen Sarutobi jumped up from his chair in shock, leaning forward and staring at Kakashi in disbelief, trying to make sure he had heard correctly. After a brief moment of shock, Hiruzen Sarutobi gradually regained his composure. He slowly sat back down in his chair, his gaze still fixed on Kakashi, but his tone had become steady. He continued, even if this boy claims to be Hiruto Namikaze, we cannot make a judgment based on just a name. Names can be imitated, and we need more evidence to confirm his identity. Moreover, as the student of the fourth Hokage Minato Namikaze, you should know very well that the fourth Hokage's wife, Kushina Uzumaki, only gave birth to one son, Naruto Uzumaki. Therefore, the identity of this boy named Boruto Namikaze is worth investigating in depth. From the moment Kushina Uzumaki was chosen as the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, her life ceased to be her own, her safety and every move were under the strict protection of Konoha village. Closely linked to the fate of the entire village until the end of his life, he ensured that the Nine-Tails' power would not be abused. Under these circumstances, she would have no chance to secretly give birth to another child without being known by Konoha. Kakashi gave a wry smile and shook his head helplessly, saying, "At first, I couldn't believe it either, but then I saw that he knew Konoha's shadow clone technique. I understand you may feel that this evidence is not enough to prove his identity, but Boruto's appearance is strikingly similar to Minato's, which is no coincidence. Moreover, he not only mastered Minato's original A-rank ninjutsu the Raise Nan, but his skill and proficiency in using it also amazed me. Aside from me, there are very few people who know this ninjutsu, and Jiraiya-sama is one of them. These details make me suspect that he has some kind of connection with Minato Sensei. Since Boruto Namikaze wasn't born to his teacher's wife, there's another possibility. I suspect Minato Sensei." Kakashi stopped there. She did not reveal her suspicion that Boruto Namikaze might be her teacher's illegitimate son, because it was not a respectable matter and had not been confirmed. He believed that with the wisdom and experience of the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, he was already able to understand what he was implying, and there was no need to spell it out. Is that so? I didn't expect that even a well-behaved kid like Minato would make a mistake. It was understandable that Minato, being young and impetuous, would make a mistake. However, Hiruzen Sarutobi couldn't say anything. After all, he was quite old and even he couldn't resist Naruto's sexy jutsu. Hiruzen Sarutobi gently stroked his beard and nodded, saying, "All right, I will handle this personally. Kakashi, bring this boy named Boruto to see me tomorrow. I want to speak with him personally and learn about his situation." Hiruzen Sarutobi's gaze deepened, and he suddenly posed a question to Kakashi. "Kakashi, what is your relationship with Minato?" Kakashi was puzzled as to why the third Hokage was asking this, but he still replied, "The fourth Hokage is my teacher and someone I respect very much." "Very well, in that case, let Boruto Namikaze join your team. You will serve as his Jonin instructor, responsible for his growth and training." Hiruzen Sarutobi's words were truly astonishing, leaving Kakashi completely stunned. Kakashi's face was filled with surprise. He stared wide-eyed at Hiruzen Sarutobi and said incredulously, "Third Hokage, are you sure you want to do this? This seems a bit inappropriate." Clearly, this sudden arrangement caught Kakashi off guard and was even somewhat difficult to accept. Kakashi thought to himself, "I already have Sasuke and Naruto, those two troublesome rivals, under my command. If I add another one, wouldn't that cause chaos?" Hiruzen Sarutobi's words were full of trust in Kakashi. Boruto Namikaze's identity is still unclear, and it is indeed risky to let him move freely in the village. We need a reliable person to supervise him and ensure that his behavior does not pose any threat to the village. And you, Kakashi, as an elite Jonin of Konoha, are not only exceptionally strong, but your 10 years of experience in the Anbu have also given you the ability to handle complex situations. Therefore, it is the most suitable choice for you to supervise and guide Boruto Namikaze. Kakashi stood there, silent for a moment. His face, covered by a mask, revealed no emotion, but it was clear that his eyes were dead. Hiruzen Sarutobi continued to explain, bringing Boruto Namikaze into your team will not only allow him to act under your supervision, ensuring that his behavior does not pose a threat to the village, but it will also allow him to establish a closer connection with Konoha, injecting fresh blood into the village. Of course, this will require you to invest extra time and effort to guide him, help him integrate into Konoha, and become one of us. Hiruzen Sarutobi looked Kakashi in the eye and explained the pros and cons of the matter. Think it over carefully, Kakashi. If you think this task is too difficult, I won't force you to accept it. Hiruzen Sarutobi didn't urge Kakashi to make a decision immediately, after all, his request had come too suddenly. Kakashi nodded slightly, yes, Third Hokage. After replying, he left the Hokage's office. As Kakashi's footsteps faded into the distance, the atmosphere in the Hokage's room returned to its usual tranquility. Hiruzen Sarutobi slowly stood up, picked up his pipe from the table, skillfully filled it with tobacco, and lit it. He took a deep breath, and amidst the swirling smoke, he strolled to the window. His gaze drifted through the window to the area where Naruto lived in the distance, a thoughtful look in his eyes as he muttered to himself. Hiruto Namikaze. After a period of silence, the heavy wooden door of the Hokage's office was suddenly smashed open by a violent force, making a loud noise that echoed in the empty corridor. The sudden commotion startled the Hokage's guards who were hiding in the shadows. They quickly assumed a defensive posture, their sharp eyes scanning the doorway, their hearts filled with vigilance. Who on earth is so audacious as to disregard the Hokage's authority and trespass into this forbidden area? Hiruzen Sarutobi slowly shifted his gaze from the scroll in his hand to the door that had been violently pushed open, seemingly unsurprised by the appearance of this uninvited guest. Danzo, Hiruzen Sarutobi's voice carried a hint of mockery, what brings you here? What has made you so agitated that you've even turned this door into a target for your frustration? Danzo Shimura's face was tense, his gloomy eyes contrasting sharply with Hiruzen Sarutobi's composure. Standing at the door, his gaze was sharp as a blade as he stared directly at the Hokage, his voice filled with undisguised anger. Ha, what wind? Danzo's words were laced with sarcasm. Isn't this wind brought by you, Hiruzen Sarutobi? Oh? Me? What's wrong with me? Hiruzen Sarutobi maintained a relaxed expression, tilting his head slightly as if he were genuinely confused, seemingly not understanding why Danzo would criticize him like that. Humph! Hiruzen! Shimura Danzo snorted coldly, don't play dumb with me. Why did you let an outsider of unknown origin come into contact with the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki? And let him join Kakashi's team, isn't that like inviting a wolf into the house? Hiruzen Sarutobi thought to himself, so they really came here to demand an explanation. Hiruzen Sarutobi's expression suddenly turned serious. He no longer maintained his previous relaxed attitude. His face under the Hokage hat was gloomy, and his gaze was fixed on Danzo. Danzo, let's put that aside for now, Hiruzen Sarutobi said indignantly. Let's talk about how you found out about this in such a short time. Were you spying on me? Your roots have stretched a bit too far, haven't they, Danzo? A sharp glint flashed in Hiruzen Sarutobi's eyes, as if silently demanding that Danzo provide a convincing reason. Everything I've done is for Konoha. Hiruzen. We've known each other for so many years, don't you trust me? When have I ever harmed you? Danzo's voice was tinged with urgency. You are like a leaf bathed in sunlight, enjoying warmth and light, while I am the root hidden deep in the soil, silently supporting you. In the shadows of darkness, I quietly removed many obstacles and dissidents for you, ensuring your position. You only need to show your dignity and justice in front of everyone as the Hokage, and continue to lead Konoha village to prosperity. Danzo patiently coaxed Hiruzen Sarutobi, making his request, "Hiruzen, just leave Boruto Namikaze to me. My root organization needs some fresh blood now." Upon hearing Danzo's suggestion, Hiruzen Sarutobi frowned slightly, but after a brief moment of contemplation, a resolute glint flashed in his eyes. "Danzo, there's no need to say any more. As for Boruto Namikaze, I will not hand him over to you. Please leave." When Danzo saw that Hiruzen Sarutobi had closed his eyes and stopped making eye contact with him, and had given him the order to leave, he knew that his plan to persuade Hiruzen had failed. Danzo's single eye flashed with fury as he stared intently at Hiruzen Sarutobi, his gaze seemingly piercing through him. In that instant, Danzo's rage almost erupted, but he ultimately transformed it into a warning, "You'll regret this, Hiruzen." Hiruzen Sarutobi stared directly at Danzo, emphasizing his identity and stance, "Danzo, I am the Hokage." He showed no sign of backing down on this matter.
वीडियोस बनाने हैं, फिल्मोरा है ना।